It's like every time you check the news, it just feels like this massive wave of information just crashes right over you.
Yeah.
I mean, so many different stories and so many angles to each story that it's tough to even know what's really happening, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we're trying to break through today.
Yeah.
We've got this really interesting set of sources that you sent us
Right.
to really get a grip on what's going on right now in Israel and Gaza.
Yeah, you gave us a really good mix here to work with.
Yeah.
You know, you've got that article from Fox News where Gal Gadot's talking about like her stance on the Hamas attacks.
Right.
And then you've got that report from Sky News that's giving us the whole picture of Israel's ground operation in Gaza and the international community's reaction. And then to kind of round things out in another Fox News piece that dives into Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Oh, yeah.
And his whole take on this deep state idea.
Yes.
Which is influencing things in both Israel and the U.S.
Yeah, and you know what we're going to do is we'll unpack this. So our goal here is to make those connections for you. Like, we want to go beyond just the headlines.
Sure.
And actually pull out the core insights.
Right.
You know, those threads that run through all these seemingly different stories.
Definitely.
We're not trying to bombard you with every little detail.
Right.
But we want to give you a much clearer, more connected understanding of what's going down on the ground, how the main players are responding, and that bigger political landscape that's shaping everything.
It's all connected.
It is.
You know, like we're looking for the common thread in a really intricate story.
Right.
We're taking these personal reactions and these military actions and even political talk.
Right.
And trying to see how they all play off each other.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah, really.
So let's just jump right into it with Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
This Fox News article is really eye-opening about how she decided to be so vocal after those Hamas attacks on October 7th. Her first Instagram post was just so direct. It was, I stand with Israel, you should too.
Yeah.
And she's been using her platform to keep the spotlight on the hostages with that hashtag no hostage left behind.
Right. And you know what's striking to me
What is that?
is that she didn't just stick to social media.
Oh, interesting.
She went a step further, like pushing for that Hollywood screening of the IDF footage from the attacks.
Oh, wow.
That's like a whole other level of getting involved.
Yeah.
There's a really deliberate way to try and like shift how people see it and make sure they really got how serious it was.
Right.
And then you've got her coming out so strongly about those sexual assaults on October 7th.
Yeah.
Calling out the world's failure on that.
Yeah.
Like she was really emphasizing that.
It's huge.
It is.
She even said the world had failed these women.
Right?
Really driving home how important it is to condemn violence like that across the board.
It's about taking a universal stand.
It is.
You know what I found really interesting?
What's that?
Is in that Variety interview in the article, she specifically says
Uh-huh.
that she usually avoids getting political.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she sees herself as an entertainer.
Yeah.
Someone who brings joy, you know, wants to be a beacon of light.
So all the more meaningful then that she...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows how deeply she felt about this. It was like this went beyond the usual political stuff for her. The article mentions how shocked she was by all the hate she got.
Yeah.
And how she felt the media coverage was biased.
Yeah.
So it seems like that feeling of needing to set the record straight, you know, to speak her truth. That's what pushed her to step outside her comfort zone.
And she said it right.
Yeah.
I had to speak up.
Powerful words.
It's wild to think that her Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony, something that's usually such a happy occasion, became this center for both pro-Israel and anti-Israel protests.
Yeah.
Even in her speech there, she talked about how important it is for the Jewish community to speak out against anti-Semitism, even if it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
It just goes to show how much this issue resonates and how divided people are.
It's polarizing.
Even in Hollywood.
Even there.
So you have someone like Gal Gadot who stays away from politics generally.
Right.
And she felt so strongly about this that she had to speak out. And then she gets this mixed bag of reactions.
Yeah.
It really shows you just how strong those feelings are around this conflict.
Absolutely.
It highlights those fault lines.
Yeah.
The emotional and ideological ones.
It's global.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Okay, so let's shift gears now and look at what's happening on the ground in Gaza.
Okay.
This Sky News report paints a really grim picture with Israel's limited ground invasion, which is specifically aimed at taking back part of the Netzarim corridor.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't remember that corridor, it used to cut right through northern Gaza and was a military zone before Israel pulled out years ago.
And this new operation started after that ceasefire with Hamas that started back in January. It basically fell apart.
Right.
Sadly, the Gaza Health Ministry is reporting a ton of casualties since the new Israeli strikes started.
For a lot of people.
At least 436, and that includes a lot of children and women.
It's heartbreaking.
The human cost is just immense.
It really is.
And it's super important to remember
yes.
that the IDF is saying that they're only targeting militants and that Hamas is responsible for any civilian deaths because they're operating in these really packed areas.
Yeah.
The report also says that the Gaza Health Ministry doesn't separate civilian and combatant deaths in the reports.
So it's hard to know.
It's super hard to get an accurate picture of the casualties.
Absolutely.
What's really troubling in this report is that incident with the UN guest house in Dar al-Balah, the death of that UN worker from Bulgaria, and the 5 others who were seriously injured, including that British guy who was working on demining.
It's a big deal.
It's a really significant event.
Yeah.
The UN and UNOPS have come out really strongly condemning it.
Yeah, they made it clear that the IDF knew where the facility was.
Right.
Especially after those other strikes nearby.
Yeah. It raises serious questions about their targeting.
Definitely.
And according to the Sky News article, Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs initially said that their investigation showed no connection between the strike and the IDF.
Right.
And they suggested that a terrorist organization might be responsible.
Which is a serious claim.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be looked into more closely.
Yeah.
It's a big accusation.
It is.
The report also talks about Israeli Navy strikes on boats off the Gaza coast. And the IDF is saying they were going after terrorist activities. Yeah. And we're also seeing these new evacuation orders from Israel all across the Gaza Strip, telling people to go to shelters in Khan Yunis and western Gaza City.
Which suggests that the military operations might be expanding. Or getting even more intense.
Right.
It's displacing even more people who are already going through so much.
We're also seeing more and more countries speaking out against Israel's actions, right?
Yeah, the article mentions concerns from Britain and France.
And those are usually strong allies of Israel.
Exactly.
And Alistair Bunkall, who's Sky News Middle East correspondent, he asks a really important question.
What's that?
He's basically wondering about Israel's overall strategy.
Right.
He points out that the last round of intense fighting didn't accomplish what they said it would, like eliminating Hamas or getting all the hostages back.
Right.
So his point is, will this new offensive be any different?
That's the key question.
Yeah. And he also brings up what might happen with U.S. support.
Oh, right.
If Trump becomes president again.
Right.
He's suggesting that if Netanyahu doesn't get results quickly, that support might not be as solid as he hopes.
So there's definitely pressure.
Yeah, it's like a ticking clock.
Definitely.
The article also lays out the different things Hamas and Israel are asking for. Hamas wants Israel to completely withdraw and for the war to end, while Israel is offering a longer truce if they get more hostages released. But they're not promising to end the fighting for good.
It's a stalemate.
It is. And we also get these numbers from the ceasefire earlier.
Right.
33 hostages were freed in exchange for almost 1,800 Palestinian prisoners.
Wow.
And now there are 59 hostages left.
Right.
And Israel thinks 35 of them are dead.
It's just so tragic.
It really highlights the human side of all of this.
Absolutely.
And the humanitarian situation is still super unstable.
Yeah, the article mentioned that UNOCHA report that said over 1 million people in Gaza could be really short on food if aid didn't get in by March.
It's scary.
That is.
The total number of deaths in Gaza since October 7th is just mind-blowing.
I know.
Gazan health officials are saying over 48,000.
It's a huge number.
And we can't forget about the people who were killed and captured in Israel at the beginning.
Absolutely, yeah.
1,200 killed and 250 taken hostage.
It's just an endless cycle of suffering.
It really is.
It is.
Okay, so now let's look at this third part.
Okay.
Prime Minister Netanyahu's claims about a deep state.
Right.
This Fox News article is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's amazing how his office is comparing the political challenges he's facing from what they call left-wing lawmakers to the pushback that President Trump got in the U.S.
They're drawing a direct parallel.
They are. And the way they talk about it is really something.
What do you mean?
Netanyahu's office went on X and said that this leftist deep state is basically using the justice system in both America and Israel to go after strong right-wing leaders.
It's like this idea that there's this secret group working against the people.
Yeah.
It's a powerful narrative.
It is.
And we're seeing it pop up everywhere.
We are, and this is all happening while Netanyahu's dealing with some serious issues in Israel.
Right.
The article talks about these ongoing protests. People are saying he's keeping the war going for his own political reasons.
Right.
And then there's his announcement that he doesn't trust the head of the Shin Bet anymore, and he's getting rid of him.
That's Israel's internal intelligence agency, right?
It is.
That's a big move.
It is.
It sent shockwaves.
It did.
It's important to remember what the Fox News piece mentions,
What's that?
that Netanyahu got a lot of pushback before
Right.
when he tried to fire the defense minister over that whole judicial overhaul thing.
Yeah.
So this whole thing with the Israeli government and the security establishment,
Yeah.
it shows that there are deeper problems
Yeah.
and challenges to his leadership.
Right.
It's not just about the current conflict.
And the comparison to Trump is so clear.
It is.
The article talks about all the legal battles Trump had over his policies,
Yeah.
like those mass deportations, the ban on transgender people in the military, and even that debate about birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
It even mentions that specific case
Oh, right.
where a federal judge, James E. Boasberg,
Yeah.
stopped the removal of those Venezuelan citizens who were connected to that Tren de Aragua gang.
That was a big one.
It was.
And Trump went after Judge Boasberg on Truth Social, right?
Yeah, he called him a radical left lunatic appointed by Obama.
It was a personal attack.
It was.
And then a Republican lawmaker even started the process of trying to impeach Judge Boasberg.
Yeah, it really ramped up the tension around the judiciary.
It did.
And Caroline Leavitt, who was the White House press secretary at the time, she also got involved. She criticized federal judges, saying they were trying to block, delay, and impede the administration's plans.
Right.
She even used the word lawfare.
Wow.
She said that the American people had voted for Trump again to put those mass deportations in place. So she was basically saying that the judges were going against the will of the people.
That's a strong argument.
It is. So when we look at these three different things,
Right.
Gal Gadot speaking out and the strong reactions she got,
Yeah.
the fighting in Gaza getting worse with more people dying and other countries getting worried,
Right.
and Netanyahu talking about this deep state. It's like the same thing that's happening in the U.S.
Yeah.
We can really see how connected everything is.
They all fit together somehow.
Gal Gadot's experience shows us how split people are around the world about this conflict.
Yeah, it's a microcosm of the bigger picture.
And then you have the situation in Gaza, which is just devastating, of all those people dying and the world watching.
Right.
And it's all happening while Netanyahu's dealing with a lot of pressure at home.
Definitely.
Like those protests and him saying he doesn't trust the head of the Shin Bet anymore.
Right.
It shows just how much this deep state talk is tied to everything else.
It's all intertwined.
These aren't separate things.
Yep.
They're all part of this huge, complicated picture.
It really shows how a conflict in one part of the world can affect so many other things. It impacts how people act, how countries get along, and even what's going on politically in other countries that seem totally separate.
Right.
It's like the butterfly effect, but on a global scale.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you to think about this.
Okay.
How do individual actions like Gal Gadot, using her fame to speak out, connect with these huge global events and the political stuff happening in Israel and the U.S.?
It's a good question.
What does it tell us about how hard it is to understand what's really going on in these really complicated world conflicts?
Especially now.
Yeah, especially with all the information flying around.
Yeah.
It makes you think about how much power one person's voice has when you've got these massive forces at play and these political battles going on.
It also shows how different stories get told.
Right.
How people fight over those stories and how we end up understanding things.
Especially in a world where there's just so much information out there.
Yeah.
And everyone's got their own point of view.
It's hard to filter it all.
It is.
And figure out what's real.
It definitely gives you a lot to think about.
It does.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.